Yep, that's me. You're probably wondering how I got in this situation. I got to experience being an all elite VIP. I got to sit in the front row, and I even got to see how AEW sets up a crowd plant. So let's talk about it. My fiance Tally and I have been watching AEW for almost exactly 1 year. So going to our first live event has been a long time coming, and it's been something that I have been very, very excited about. But I knew if we were going to finally see AEW in person, we were going to need to do the full experience. We've been waiting for some time for AEW to come back to Michigan, and they finally did when they announced 2 shows in Detroit. They were going to have Dynamite, and they were also going to have Collision the very next day in the same location. As soon as those tickets became available, we locked in 2 VIP All Elite Experience tickets to Dynamite. We weren't originally planning on going to Collision as well, but during one of our Dynamite live streams, you guys were pretty encouraging of the idea. People come in through this corner, fights happen in this corner. Should we make a slightly irresponsible decision and lock in 2 of these seats?
In these fiscal times.
We decided since we were doing the VIP tickets the first night, we would try getting front row seats for Collision the next day. We thought it'd be cool to pick the 2 seats in the corner where there's usually a bunch of action. And usually it's like where the Death Riders kind of hop the barricade. We thought that would be a prime spot to sit. That turned out to not exactly be the case, but we will get to that. But we were already so excited to go, even when we were just going to Dynamite, and you guys were hyping us up so much to go to Collision as well. All that was left to do was wait a few weeks and head down to downtown Detroit. Now, we've been to wrestling shows in the past, and usually you are encouraged to get there pretty early because you really don't want to be in the back of a few hour long line or what feels like a few hours of just standing outside. And since the weather was pretty warm in this particular day, we knew we wanted to get there pretty early so we could just be near the front of the line and get in as soon as possible. I was surprised to say that when we got there, the lines were pretty short. I know it's a smaller venue, but I kind of figured with the diehard AEW crowd that we wouldn't be one of the only ones that were getting there that early, but I guess I was wrong. I don't know, maybe we got there a little too early, I'm not sure, but there ended up being 2 lines, a regular admission line and then the VIP line. Got in a separate line for VIP, and we ended up waiting there for probably like 15 to 20 minutes before they were going to finally start letting people in to the VIP entrance only. Part of the VIP package is that you get to have early admission compared to the general admission, so we got to go in about roughly 30 or 40 minutes before everybody else. Once 5:30 came around, the guy that was the concierge and running the whole All Elite experience started checking in everybody in our line one by one. All we had to do was provide our ID and show our ticket that we had purchased those, and they were just confirming that we had the All Elite experience paid for. This is also when they give us our cool VIP badge and our cool little swag bag. I bet you're wondering what comes in the swag bag. Let's take a look. So Tally and I each got one of these. I know it looks kind of like a hoodie, and that's because it basically is. It's actually a really soft material with like this hoodie looking pocket in the front of it, and it's got the AEW All Elite Experience logo on the front of it. It's got one of those drawstring type deals going on. Let's take a look inside. First and foremost, they give you this All Elite Experience hat. Not a bad hat. I mean, it's got like this like mesh in the back that I kind of like for hot weather. The front is embroidered. It's not just a cheap print. Next up in the swag bag, we got these AEW Mystery Micro Brawlers. We each got 3 of these bags. Or 3 of these little packages inside of our bags. Now, we haven't actually opened these yet, and we're planning on opening these at our next AEW live stream. So if you're not already subscribed, make sure you do, because we do stream live watch-alongs to AEW Dynamite and also some WWE shows as well. We do live streams for all pay-per-views and PLEs of both shows. So if you want to watch wrestling with us and you want to find out what's in these micro brawlers packaging, we're going to open these up during the next Dynamite stream. And the only other thing in this swag bag, I bet you if you don't already know the answer, I promise you wouldn't guess it. We got this like mini turnbuckle, this turnbuckle pad. It's definitely a mini. It's definitely like a smaller one than you normally get, but it's a turnbuckle pad. I don't know what you're expected to do with it. I guess probably maybe get it signed with like a silver marker. I'm sure I'm gonna find a place to put it somewhere behind me, but that was a unique one. I was not expecting to get turnbuckle pads, so we each got one. So if we go to a handful of more wrestling shows, we could make a mini AEW ring, I guess. So after they check you in, they give you the swag bag, you do end up waiting in that line for just a little bit longer, and then they bring everybody inside. They walked everybody down this hallway, and eventually we got to this corner, which, by the way, the building this was in, this is called the Masonic Temple in downtown Detroit. Absolutely beautiful. But this is when the next benefit comes into play, where you get to have access to the merch table before the general public. So you can go and buy whatever merch that you're planning on getting, and you don't have to wait in line for it, which I've been in merch lines at WWE shows. I've been in merch lines at a lot of just shows in general. Not fun. So this was a cool benefit. And this was a benefit that we decided to use. Tally went ahead and picked up a few things. The first thing she grabbed was a Hangman Adam Page t-shirt. I thought this was a pretty cool design. I like the simplicity of just like the 2-color shirt. Doesn't look like your typical wrestling shirt. I feel like you could just wear this. It just kind of looks like you have a pretty shirt, and somebody who reads the name, it's one of those if you know kind of pieces of merch. And then in the complete opposite side of the spectrum, here is this extremely loud and flashy Will Ospreay Bruv jersey, which, hey, I'm not hating. This thing is gorgeous. It feels soft. It's got the name on the back. It's just so pretty. It's so bright. I think this is a pretty damn cool shirt. You're gonna see her wearing it later in this video. It's pretty cool. She also picked up these Bruv socks. Say like Bruv on the ankle. They say Ospreay on the feet. So she's got some Will Ospreay socks now. Of course, I had to pick something up as well, and I figured I can't be an AEW fan unless I do the AEW thing and buy a piece of merch that just says AEW on it and just be able to flex. Like, hey, I watch AEW. Do you? I remember when I first started watching, I thought it was funny that like I was seeing so many people in the crowd wearing just a shirt or a hat that says AEW on it, and I just never saw that in WWE. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, I get it now. You want to flex. You want to show it off. I get it. Max, you're going to have to hold this stuff for me. So while you're waiting for everybody to get the merch, there's actually a little bar nearby. So if you want, you can also take advantage of not having to wait in line for that as well and just pick that up now. Once everybody had a chance at the merch table, we were escorted over to this like small side room. We walked in, there's a bunch of chairs for us to sit in, and there's these big AEW All Elite Experience backdrops. And this is where we are going for the advertised Q&A and meet and greets. Now, I love meet and greets. I've done plenty of them, and I understand that at these superstar, these VIP experiences that I've done before, you don't know who's going to be there until you get there. So we all sit down, we're waiting to see, who we're going to get to meet, and the concierge takes this time to start passing out all of these $20 food and drink vouchers that we get to have. It's included in your package, and I think that's pretty cool. You get each of us got a $20 voucher that works on any food or drink at any of the concessions, which is super awesome when you consider how expensive that stuff is in theaters and arenas now. But we totally forgot that we had it and we didn't use it. And so we have $40 in expired coupon vouchers that, are just get to keep as a little piece of memorabilia. So we're chilling for a little bit. We're waiting to see who's going to come in, who we're going to get to meet. And after a few minutes, who walks in but two of my favorite referees in all of wrestling, Aubrey Edwards and Bryce Remsburg. I know it might sound weird that I have like favorite referees or whatever, but if you're not new to the channel or if you got to know me at all, I like refs. I think that is a cool part of pro wrestling. I think that's just a really cool aspect that I have a lot of interest in. So when they walked in first, I popped. So these two actually weren't technically the advertised Q&A and meet and greet. They were considered by the concierge the hosts of this part of the experience. So they were up there for a few minutes talking and just kind of just laughing it up with us for a little bit. They did take a question or two, but those questions just ended up being basically like, when's a pay-per-view coming to Detroit kind of thing. I was not prepared. I was definitely not prepared to ask a ref a question. I wish I had been. I will try to remember for the future, but man, I missed my shot. I didn't get to ask anything. After a couple questions, if you wanted to get a photo with them, you could, which of course I did. They were super nice. I told them that I love refs, and they encouraged me that I should ref. They like, it's never too late. You can give it a shot. So after that, Aubrey and Bryce leave the room, and the concierge comes back and says, all right, everybody, next up, we're going to bring in a champion. Now, when you're told you're going to meet a champion, you're thinking, oh my God, it could be Tony Storm. It could be Jon Moxley. Maybe it's some tag champions. Maybe the Hurt Syndicate's going to come through. I don't know. It could have been anytime. Maybe it was Mercedes Moné. She's got a million titles. In walked Nick Wayne, who is technically a champion, who has a Ring of Honor championship title. I'm not trying to hate, but when you hype up the crowd saying you're about to bring in a champion, you know what you're doing. You know what you did. You know what sort of expectation you set up there. And don't you dare say that I should have expected an ROH champion when he says that he's bringing in a champion. I'll be honest. I don't really know who Nick Wayne is. I think that's the dude who's Christian Cage's son. I don't really, I have not seen a ton of him to where I could get like super excited, but like, he was polite. I got my photo. It is what it is. I met a wrestler. I'm not complaining. However, this is when the VIP experience actually shifted into a new gear. And I don't mean that in a good way. This is unfortunately when the meet and greet and like the Q&A section started to feel rushed.
We're here in about 10 minutes for us to get to the floor, so we got to make this quick so everybody can get photos.
The time with Aubrey and Bryce felt pretty relaxed, like we were just hanging out and we were enjoying the meet and greet situation. Once Nick Wayne got in there, once we actually moved on to the wrestler portion of it, suddenly we were told that we only had time for like one question and we needed to keep this moving. But the guy kind of worded it in a way of like, okay, if we hurry up, we can get even more wrestlers. But that wasn't really the case. It sounds like we just had a limited amount of time that we could either be in that room or a limited amount of time that we could like go and do the next portion of this. So after the quick question and then everybody getting photos with Nick, they brought in the Outrunners. Now, I know them a little bit better than I knew Nick Wayne. I got excited when I saw them. I think they're very funny. They kind of brought the energy up in the room from the moment they came in. It was cool. I'm not sure how to describe their whole gimmick, but I like it. They make me laugh. I think they're funny. However, once again, we were told that we have time for one quick question and then we got to get these photos because we got to get going to the next part.
All right, we got time for one question because, like I said, the ring's about to open up. So any diehard fan that has one for these guys, you're more than welcome to open up. If not, we're gonna get straight to the pictures.
The Outrunners were really cool. I'm appreciative. I got to meet them. I got my photo. They posed with me. It was goofy. But I got to be honest with you, like the whole, hey, we need to hurry up. So someone hurry up and ask a question so we can move on. That's not exactly what I would call a Q&A session if you're going to advertise that as part of the package. I mean, I didn't have any question to ask personally. So like at the end of the day, it's whatever on my end. But people who may be bigger or longer term AEW fans than I am, like if you had a question, yeah, you kind of, you were told that you were going to get a Q&A session. You probably thought you'd be able to ask something and then you kind of didn't. So I don't know. That little portion was kind of strange, but I am appreciative that I got to meet Aubrey and Bryce. That was my favorite part of that whole section. So once we were done taking pictures with the Outrunners, they escorted us over to where the main area was, where the ring is, where the crowd is. And they walked us down to the actual ringside area where we got to wait in line and wait to get a picture up on the stage. I'm actually kind of glad there was a line because getting to hang out just kind of next to the ring and in the area where the wrestlers normally are, I've never been in there. So that was just really cool, just getting to kind of hang out, look around and see the view of like, the theater and actually get to take in that spot. I don't know. That part kind of worked for me. I like that. Got to the front of the line. They had two of the singles titles. They had the women's title and the men's title. At least I assume it is. I haven't seen it in months. But me and Tally got to walk up on the stage, walk up the ramp and get a photo with the titles, which was pretty cool. I kind of forgot that they were going to do that. When it was advertised, I assumed that when it said ringside photo, I thought we were just going to stand next to the ring, hold the title. I didn't expect to get to walk up the ramp and kind of stand on the stage area. That was really damn cool. And once you took that photo, it was basically just awesome, guys. Enjoy the show. And you just kind of go to your seat from there, which, that's fine. I don't really know what else I expected from that. I don't know. Like, I promise I'm not trying to come off like, oh, why didn't I get more? It was just the whole VIP experience thing took like 30 to 40 minutes tops, which maybe that sounds like a long time to other people. I don't know. But like when a lot of that 30 to 40 minutes is spent like sitting and like waiting to do the next thing, and everything that you're actually doing was a little bit rushed. Yeah, I don't know. It kind of made it just feel like, oh, okay, we're done. All right, well, I'm going to go watch the show now. I don't know. It was a strange feeling, but I'm not complaining. I'm just trying to relay how it felt in the moment. So we head over to our seats, and I got to tell you, these were the best view of a wrestling show that I have ever had. This was like perfect. We weren't on the floor. There were only, I think, 2 rows on the actual floor, and we were in the first row in that like first portion right behind the floor. So we had a great view. Nobody like blocking us or in front of us. It was perfect.
Welcome back to
So instead of your standard like pre-show dark matches that you might get at like a WWE show, instead AEW films Ring of Honor matches, which is like, I wouldn't call it a dark match because it is, I don't know if it's televised, I guess, but it is presented on the show Ring of Honor as like a full episode. I think it's a pretty cool idea to have the matches that are before the show actually still matter to some degree. It matters to that show. So this means I got to watch a handful of matches before the show featuring a bunch of wrestlers that I was just really not familiar with, or so I thought. And this guy comes out named Gringo Loco, and I'm like, I know that name. And you're probably thinking, how do you know that name? You've only been watching wrestling a couple years and you've only been watching AEW for the last year. This is where I gotta tell you the entire reason we were able to even do this trip. I was aware of Gringo Loco because we had fairly recently watched a match featuring him over on the Patreon. Gringo Loco is the only one I've never heard of. Wonder if he's like the full-blown like indie guy or... So massive shout out and massive thank you to the Patreon for showing us random obscure matches that just happened to feature this guy that was going to be featured in this Ring of Honor match. This kind of thing happens all the time where we see a wrestler for the first time watching like AEW or something, and there's plenty of times we're like, oh, we watched that on the Patreon. I remember this guy. And the coolest thing about the Patreon is every single video that is on there is me watching a match for the very first time. That's the benefit of only having watched for the last 2 years. Me and Tally get sent matches that are either classic matches or obscure matches by you guys. And so at this point, we've built up this massive library in the last year of us getting to watch these classic matches that are your guys' favorites or some of the best matches of all time. And we're watching it for the first time. So if that sounds at all cool to you, check it out. You can join for completely free. Every single month we put free content over there for the free members, and then if you want you could always upgrade at any time, and if you upgrade you get daily watch alongs to wrestling matches still that we have never seen, and those get uploaded literally every single day. That Patreon is the sole reason why we've been able to do these vlogs, go to these shows, and just do pretty much all the wrestling related stuff that we've been doing in the last year. It's because of that Patreon. So thank you so much to those of you who have been supportive and been over there for as long as you have. I really do appreciate it, but let's jump back into the story. Once those Ring of Honor matches are actually done, it's time to kick off the show, and boy did they kick off the show. Dude, getting to sit that close to the pyro, especially like the fire that comes up, you can feel the warmth off that. Those of you who haven't been there, yeah, you feel the heat from that, even from like the distance back that we were. So I don't even want to know what it's like actually walking down the ramp and being right next to it. So the show opens up with Hangman Adam Page, who is one of our favorites, so that was cool. But shortly after his promo starts, one of Tally's favorites makes his entrance. She was very excited, and so was I. This opening promo gave me a strong taste of what an AEW crowd is really like. Now, don't get me wrong, they were great during the Ring of Honor matches, but man, when this promo was hitting, dude, the crowd was going nuts. Like there was a chant for everything. There was AEW chants. There was a happy birthday chant for Will Ospreay, so that was cool. But over and over again, like just different chants were starting, and it was just cool. Like I've been to a lot of wrestling shows at this point, and a lot of times you usually hear you'll hear a chant kind of start or it fade, or you'll go long periods where you're just kind of watching or listening or random cheers. Dude, it felt like every 2 seconds we were doing another chant, or like the crowd was just on fire for this. And it was that was honestly one of my biggest takeaways from doing this whole thing and going to both days. The crowd, that was just sick. So since Tally got to open the show with her favorite, it was only fair that my favorite came out next. If you can't tell, I'm a big Toni Storm fan. She's one of my favorite wrestlers. She's definitely my favorite in AEW. So getting to see her not only be in a match, but actually win a match live, that was cool. That was so entertaining. I did find out that not everything actually goes black and white when she makes her entrance. So we also got a banger of a 6-man tag match that featured Swerve Strickland. So that's where me and Tally made one of our first TV appearances, where we were spotted swerving. Shout out to whoever from the Discord made that into a GIF. That's pretty funny. That was cool. So the matches are going crazy, right? But what happens in between the matches ended up being one of the most insane things of the night. Justin Roberts comes out during what I assume is a commercial break, and he gets the crowd all hyped up asking about All In. First, he asks the crowd, hey, is anybody planning on going to All In? And everybody's cheering. Does anybody already have their tickets to All In? A bunch of people start cheering. And then he says this, is there anybody in the crowd crowd that doesn't have tickets to All In but is planning on going. And very few people put their hand up. So what he does is he picks 2 people who said they wanted to go or were planning on going but did not have their tickets yet, and he has them rock, paper, scissors for free All-In tickets. I didn't raise my hand because like I wasn't planning on going because I wasn't thinking I'd be able to get tickets, or I just didn't think about it. I didn't raise my hand.
Rock, paper, scissors, shoot! Scissors beats paper. Congratulations, you have 2 tickets to All In Texas.
That was such a fumble. I regret it. So now you know, if you're at an upcoming show and you hear Justin Roberts asking about All In, put your hand up if he asks if you are wanting to go or planning on going but don't have tickets. You might be able to score a pair. This isn't like a show review, so I'm not going to go through like all the matches or anything, but the rest of the night was pretty incredible. We had a great view of some really cool moments. We got to see multiple Death Riders entrances, so seeing them come right next to our section and going over the corner was cool. There was a brawl near us that happened like 10 feet away from us that was like in the crowd. That was pretty cool. Overall, just, yeah, that first night was just one heck of an experience. The crowd was insane. We got to see a lot of things that I've never had that good of a view at a big show like this. It was awesome. When the show ended, Tony Khan actually came out. He had a microphone. He was getting the crowd all hyped up, and the crowd started chanting pay-per-view, 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 to which Tony Khan says, yeah, the man guaranteed a pay-per-view was coming back to Detroit. And I was recording, so I figured when he was done talking, I would upload it to X. And that tweet kind of popped off. It was getting shared like crazy, and I started noticing, like, my tweets don't usually pop off like that. So when it did, I looked into it, and I figured out why. My post ended up being considered like a source for many different wrestling websites, saying that Tony Khan is basically guaranteeing an announcement for a future pay-per-view in Detroit. Even Yahoo Sports put it on there and put my tweet on there, which that was hilarious. Honestly, I've never had that happen before. So seeing a bunch of websites just using my funny clip as like a source for their story, that was funny. We were on such a high after that first show. We talked about it the whole way home, and we were just so damn excited to go back the next day. We didn't need to go as early the next day because we weren't doing the VIP thing, but we did get some great tickets, or so we thought. Remember I told you we'd get to this? We're getting to it. So the very next day, we're heading back to Detroit, going to Collision. Now, at this point, I had been posting all day about like how much fun we had the night before, how excited we were for Collision. Ever since my post from the night before with Tony Khan promising the pay-per-view, a few of my posts were getting a little more traction than usual. This led to the official AEW like X page liking multiple of my tweets, and Tony Khan's actual account even like the post that was talking about this video that was going to be coming out. So Tony Khan, if you're watching, what's up? Okay, so remember when I said we bought those front row seats? The goal was we wanted to buy the front row 2 seats that were all the way in the corner barricade where like the Death Riders would hop, so that we could be right there. We could be where like the action happens. Stuff usually happens in that corner. Thought that would be really cool to be on the barricade. And when you buy the tickets on the website, it very much looks like those are exactly what you're going to get. It looks like those seats are the last one in the corner, and that's where the barricade would go. So you would assume you buy front row, you would assume you're going to be on the barricade. Turns out we got the only 2 front row seats in the entire show that was not actually like right in front of the barricade. Instead, in front of us was this little walkway spot and just a chair for the security guy who usually sits there like facing away from the ring, just kind of like making sure no one runs up. So instead of standing, you know, when something is happening and being like in front, being able to touch the barricade and look down and see stuff going on, if I stand up, my crotch is going to be right in the face of a security guard. I'll be completely honest, this put a bit of a bummer on it right when we sat down. It kind of took away the whole reason that we bought them. Like, yeah, we still were close. We could still see the ring. You know, I'm sure anybody would say, hey, suck it up. You still have great seats. It's more of the principle of like when you think you're buying something and you're pretty confident you're buying something, you just want what you paid for. These weren't cheap seats. So like, you just hope to get what everybody else who bought those same tickets in the front row are getting. It kind of sucks being the only two that are kind of like in this weird intersection. So I ended up talking to the security guy that was sitting in front of us, and he ended up being really cool. And I explained to him, I was like, hey, this is kind of weird. Like, I'm not going to be able to like get up and like do anything, like, cause you're kind of right here. And I asked him, is it okay if like we get up and we cheer and like maybe we kind of squeeze by you a little bit and get to the corner? And he said, like, if the action was happening right in the corner, he said we could. He said he'd try to work with us basically, but there's only so much he can do. He's got to like keep that area clear. So not only are we off to the side, we are in an area that needs to be kept clear. So it's like, why are there seats here? The dude ended up being really cool. I'm not mad at him. He understood and he completely agreed that we honestly, those seats shouldn't exist. He agreed with us completely, but there's nothing he can do about it. So I told him that we're just going to be chatting with him the whole show. And because I mean, the whole time we're basically knee to knee, I told him I'm just going to be talking to you the whole show. So he's like, yeah, it's cool. So Collision does the same thing as Dynamite. They start off with Ring of Honor matches. But while all that was going on, something interesting happened. You remember that concierge from the night before? So he comes over and starts talking to the people that are sitting next to us, about 4 or 5 of them. And he explains that they need to move those 5 to another front row area because they need to put a family here for something that is part of the show. So I'm sitting up, I'm listening. I'm like, okay, this sounds juicy. This sounds like some secret, like we're doing something here. I want to know what this is all about. So I kind of sit a little closer. I'm listening. Now, he doesn't go into detail. He basically just tells them that they need 5 of them to get up and move to a new area, another area that will also be in the front row. And they're going to have this family come in for the start of the show. And then something presumably is going to happen. Now, those of you who watched that episode of Collision, you know what's coming. So he escorts those 5, and basically that 5 stops right next to us. So it's next to us now are 5 empty seats, and then we are just in these 2 end seats off to the side. And just like we were told, a few minutes later, in comes this family of 5 that just takes up the seats. Now, I don't know who these people are. Turns out it is a former professional wrestler, Zach Gowen, who used to wrestle. I don't know much about him, but he was there with his family. He's apparently this legend. And I'm like, oh, okay. So like they're bringing him in. He's going to be on camera. And like when they started this like next segment, they kind of like put a camera on him and he waved to the crowd like, we have Zach Gowen's in the house. So I'm thinking, oh, so nothing's like going to happen. It's just like an appearance kind of thing. Okay, that's cool, I guess. Oh my God, I was so wrong. Ricochet finishes the match that he was having, pulls out a mic and just starts trash talking in general. But then he starts trash talking Zach Gowen. I'm sitting right next to the family and, Gowen jumps the barricade. If you saw it, you know what happens. Ricochet beats him up with his own prosthetic leg. I didn't realize he had a prosthetic leg until all that was going down. I didn't even notice. Fun fact, one of the security guards from that scene with Ricochet and Zach Gowen is actually a local indie wrestler at the show that me and Tally go to every week. So good for you, dude. You made it. Once that whole scene played out, the family got escorted back away. And so I assumed that group that got moved from that spot was going to come back soon, but they didn't. The next match kind of started and I could see those 5 people still just sitting in the front row on the other side. As time kind of went on, I'm like, I can maybe, while they're gone, I can kind of scoot over a little bit and get a little bit better view. I'm not going to be egregious. And then once that kind of ended, I was like, I still don't see them coming back and these seats are still empty and that family's not coming back. You remember that friendly security guard we talked to earlier? Well, I spoke to him and I asked him if he would snitch and he said he wouldn't. And I said, hey, every once in a while when something happens, I'm going to stand up, we're going to cheer. And then when I sit down, I'm going to sit down 1 seat over and use that to nonchalantly kind of inch our way over to these empty seats and actually get to sit on the barricade. Dude was like, yeah, I got you. You're good. So major love to that security guard. Thanks for being cool about it. We told him, we said that if those people had to come back, we would move right away. But while they're empty, I mean, it would be bad for TV to have 5 empty seats in the front row. So we should do our part. So Tony Khan, if you're watching, you're welcome. And boy, am I glad we did, because if I had not moved over, I would not have gotten scissored on live television by Anthony Bowens.
No respite for Johnson on the outside. None at all, fans.
Or at least I tried. I don't know. I was in the moment and I panicked. I don't know. He came up and I did too. But then like when he when I got excited and I just started waving my hands. I didn't properly scissor back. I posted the clip of me kind of failing at the scissor, and he saw it and he replied to it. He said, "Thanks for scissoring with me. Needs some work though, but it was the attempt that counts." So shout out Anthony Bowens. That was hilarious. The rest of the show ended up being incredible. Never sat on the barricade for a wrestling show like that. There were so many times the action kept coming near us. The fighting kept happening near us. There was some beat downs that were happening right in front of us. We got clips of that. You could see it really well on TV. You could see our view as well. We had such a cool view for so many of these moments that were happening near us. It was actually incredible. Like having people hop the barricade right in front of us, like Bryce hopped just chasing them down before the whole Nigel scene. It was so damn cool. Like I felt like I was part of the show, and I made sure to, like, you know, I wasn't one of those people. I didn't reach out and touch them and stuff. Like I got out of the way. I made sure they could do their work, but it was so cool being that close and seeing it happen like that. I've never experienced that before. And me and Tally were just going nuts during that. And I don't know how to explain it. That was just so much fun. So we just kind of had that spot, and we had prime seating, the seating that we thought we were buying in the first place. We ended up getting it, which was amazing. I am so happy with those seats. I'm so happy with the experience on that second day. That was just a blast. So after Dynamite, you know, Tony Khan just came out and said all that stuff, and then the show was over. After Collision, they did a whole nother hour of Ring of Honor matches, which was pretty damn cool. At that point, I felt a lot more like we got our money's worth. Like I got to watch a lot of wrestling from those seats. And then when it was over, it was over. And I'll be honest, I was kind of sad. I've been to a Royal Rumble. I've been to multiple SummerSlams. I've been to plenty of just wrestling shows in general. That was some of the most fun I've ever had at a wrestling show. That was some of the most fun I've ever had just watching wrestling. I know a big portion of that is because of the seats we had, but it was also more than that. Talked about it a little bit earlier, but I really want to dive into how meaningful and how impactful that crowd was. Yeah, it's a smaller venue, but honestly, some of the most fun I've had has been going to smaller venue shows. I've talked about going to WWE house shows at those smaller venues, and the environment is just awesome. Like it's just, you don't usually go to those shows unless you're a really big wrestling fan. So everyone's just kind of all in on it. And that's what the AEW experience was like. So many chants, so many just screaming and yelling, and just so many like individualized chants and cheers for certain wrestlers, and so many like "this is awesomes," and just it felt like, you know, no matter where you were sitting, you got to be a part of the show, and you really got to just kind of create extra moments and elevate certain moments by being an awesome crowd. And that's just not something I feel like I get at every show that I go to. So would I do it again? Yeah, I really, really want to go again. I'd previously said that I would love to go to a Dynamite or a Collision as long as it came to Michigan. And I think that's changed. I think I would travel. I think I would go out of town, you know, within reason in like a nearby state. But I would make like a weekend of it, or make like a few day trip out of going to a Dynamite again. That was just such a good experience. It surpassed any expectation I thought I could have. Now, I've said before, because I've been watching WWE longer than I've been watching AEW, that WWE is like my main show that I like to keep track of. It's got more of my favorites. I'm super locked in, and I'm super into a bunch of the storylines more than I feel like I have been with AEW, mostly because of the shorter time watching. But I will say, I would sooner go to another Dynamite than I would go to a Raw or a SmackDown. At the AEW show, I felt like from start to finish, I was at an experience. Not just the additional one that I paid extra for, but the actual show. I really can't wait to go again. And I know Tally feels the same. That was amazing. I know this was a much longer video than usual, so thank you so much at this point for watching it all the way through. I really appreciate it if you hit the like button or drop a comment. If you have any questions about the experience, if you have any questions about the trip, feel free to ask in the comments, and I'll go through as many of them as I can, and I'll try to answer as best as I can. On the next episode of our podcast style show that me and Tally do over on the Patreon, we're going to go into even more depth. I know this felt like I went into all the depth, but we'll talk a little bit more about it. We'll answer some of your questions over on the Patreon as well. But since sincerely from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much for watching these videos. Thank you for being a subscriber. Thank you for being a supporter of this community, being a part of this community where we watch all wrestling and we enjoy all wrestling, and we don't shame anyone for liking the show that we might not like. If that sounds like a community that you can get down with, make sure you join the Discord so you could talk wrestling 24 hours a day with people all around the world that have that same mindset. We would not have been able to do this without the support that you guys give us. So again, thank you so much for that. Thank you so much to the patrons that are flying up the screen. I'll see you guys in the next video. Thank you so damn much. Bye.